Before we go into the breath hold itself, I want to talk a little bit about the mammalian dive reflex. Now, what is the mammalian dive reflex? So this is a series, well, in fact, four physiological adaptations that happen when you hold your breath. So the mammalian dive reflex is a reflex that happens in aquatic mammals like dolphins, like whales, even beavers. But we humans, we also have this. It's just less developed. It is important that we know that we can train this. So the more we train breath hold, the more we train this mammalian diving reflex. So the faster and the stronger it kicks in when we start holding our breath and when we start diving. And that will make that we can hold our breath longer. So it is good to know this exists, so you know what happens with your body. And one of those things, one of those four physiological adaptations that can happen is called bradycardia. So when you hold your breath, your heart rhythm slows down. So your heart is going to start beating slower. Why is that? Because with every pound of your heart, with every heartbeat, you are using oxygen. If you are using oxygen, then you can hold your breath not that long anymore, because you need all that oxygen to preserve for your brain to stay awake and go through this breath hold, of course. So bradycardia is one of the four physiological adaptations of mammalian diving reflex. Another one is vasoconstriction. So it might be that when you hold your breath a bit longer, you start feeling tingling sensation in your fingers, in your toes. That is because of vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction means that the blood vessels in the narrow parts of your body, the extremities, like your fingers, like your toes, they start to narrow down. So the reason of this is to have the blood flow towards your heart and your lungs and your brain to preserve this blood flow. So blood flow is getting restricted in the extremities of your body, and you are getting more blood flow to the vital organs. Of course, this is because, well, you are in a situation of stress, the breath holds, and you have to stay alive, stay awake. You cannot black out. So the longer you hold your breath, the more your vital organs get nourished with blood. That is vasoconstriction. Then we have the spleen contraction. So the spleen is a small organ on the left side of your body. What happens there after you hold your breath when you start diving? After a couple of seconds, I don't know exactly, 20-30 seconds, the spleen contraction kicks in. So this organ contains a lot of oxygen-rich blood cells, and when this organ contracts, it releases these oxygen-rich blood cells into the bloodstream. So this is helping you in holding your breath longer. And then number 4 is the blood shift. There is a lot we can say about the blood shift. To keep it very short, the deeper you dive, the more pressure you feel from the water. So on the surface, we have 1 bar. You go down 10 meters and you have already 2 bar. So at 20 meters, you have 3 bar. And at 40 meters, you have, at 20 meters, you have 3 bar. At 30 meters, you have 4 bar. That's it. So that's already 4 times the pressure of the surface. If you would continue to dive deeper, then basically your lungs would implode, because they're already getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So at a certain point, I mean, they can keep on getting smaller. So that's where the blood shift kicks in. And this usually kicks in around the residual volume. So residual volume is when you can no longer get air from the lungs towards your mouth. And this is around 30 to 40 meters. It depends on how well trained you are. So in between that range, between 30 and 40 meters, that's where you hit your residual volume and the blood shift kicks in. So the blood shift is basically your body creating some kind of survival mechanism for your lungs. You could think about a cushion that is formed in and around the lungs to protect the lungs from imploding. So it's not that your lungs will get drowned with blood. That's not what it is. But the alveoli, they get filled with blood, and there is some kind of cushion forming around your lungs to protect them from getting smaller. That is a short explanation of what is the blood shift. All right, so I see we're getting more people in. Calypso Deep Sea 98. Mohamed Zakaria, I will answer your questions later. Thank you guys for being here. So now that we know what is the mammalian dive reflex, let me first tell you that you can join my channel. If you press the join button, then you will become a member of the channel. So there are 3 levels of becoming a member, which is a freediver, the advanced freediver, and the master freediver. Yes, if you press the join button, then you will see the different levels and what perks are associated with those levels. So if that's something for you, go ahead and click on that. All right, this is what we came for, right? The breath hold itself. So how do we start with a breath hold? We're going to do a breathe up. Now, the breathe up is the time that we spend right before we take our final breath and hold our breath. So that's called the breathe up. Other people might call it the relaxation phase. It doesn't matter how you call it. The breathe up is the time, let's say 2 to 5 minutes right before you hold your breath. So the whole purpose of the breathe up is to get yourself into the zone and to focus on only one thing, and that is relaxation. There's only one thing important during the breathe up, and that is to relax your mind and to relax your body. If you get anxious, if you already start thinking about your breath hold, if you start thinking about how long can I hold my breath, then it's going to get more difficult because your mind is already in the future. You don't want your mind to be in the future. You want to be in the present. Mindfulness is being in the present moment, the present right here, right now. And that is what you want to achieve during the breathe up. So how are we going to do this breathe up? Well, there are different ways of breathe up, and one of them is tidal breathing. So before I discuss what is tidal breathing, I want you to know that this is not the only way that you can breathe during a breathe up. There is different ways. It doesn't really matter because the focus is on relaxation. So if you achieve relaxation, then you're doing a good job. How you get this relaxation is not so important. So one of these methods is called tidal breathing. Now, I'm going to be short about this because otherwise the stream is going to be very long. Tidal breathing is minimal breathing. We also call this TV breathing. So when you're watching TV, you are not conscious about your breathing. The moment you start thinking about breathing, you start thinking about, okay, now I am inhaling, now I am exhaling. That is no longer tidal breathing because you're already conscious about how you're breathing and you're probably doing it too much already. You're inhaling already too much and exhaling too much. So tidal breathing is the minimal amount of air that we in and exhale when we are in rest, when we are reading a book or when we are watching TV. Now, to know for yourself whether you are tidal breathing or not is a bit difficult because if you start paying attention to how you breathe, then you're probably already breathing more than tidal breathing. So the trick here is when you're watching TV and you're reading a book to, from time to time, suddenly get out of that situation, like stop watching TV and immediately focus on how are you breathing right now. Don't do it too long because the more you focus on it, the more you will be breathing more. Like when you are conscious about breathing, you will take deeper inhalations. So quickly switch from watching TV to being conscious about your breathing, and you will see that it is a very small inhalation, a very small exhalation. Your diaphragm is moving only a small amount. It's barely moving. It's very difficult to notice. That is tidal breathing. You can also do a different breathe up, yogic breathing, for instance, using your diaphragm and your chest. So first in the belly, then in the chest, 3 seconds in and 6 seconds out. Does it have to be exactly this? No, but it is a way to keep you busy, because the problem with tidal breathing is that you don't really have anything to focus on. I mean, I'm telling you, yeah, you should breathe minimal, like if you're watching TV, but for some people, this is quite difficult to execute, even for myself. I like to have something to think about. So when you do yogic breathing, 3 seconds in, 6 seconds out, then you think about it. Your brain is focusing solely on this inhalation and exhalation, and there's no room for other thoughts coming in your head. So I will demonstrate this. 3 seconds in and 6 seconds out. And again, first in the belly, then the chest. 3 in, 6 out. Now, some people might say, hey, oh, wait a minute, this is hyperventilation. Well, to a certain extent, this is hyperventilation, but let's not get into that discussion because there's a lot we can say about hyperventilation. If you do this slowly and controlled, and you don't go like a madman, 3 in, 6 out. No, do this in a relaxed way, then this is a good way to prepare yourself for a breath hold. So don't worry too much about it, whether this is hyperventilation or not. And talking about hyperventilation, then we switch to the next one, the 5-5 breathing. This is mild hyperventilation. So you're going to inhale during 5 seconds and exhale during 5 seconds. And you keep on repeating that over and over again. I like this method a lot because if you hyperventilate just a little bit, then you are postponing your contractions, the urge to breathe. We will talk about the urge to breathe later. So if you postpone the urge to breathe, then your breath hold becomes more enjoyable. And for beginners, it's sometimes really nice to know that the contractions will come later, so you can enjoy this first phase of your breath hold that you don't have contractions yet. Also, for advanced freedivers, there are more and more advanced freedivers, even a guy who holds his breath over 10 minutes, who uses this kind of breathe up for maximum breath hold attempts. So 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Again, you have to do it in a controlled way. Don't go like a madman, 5 in, 5 out. No, relax, find peace in every inhalation, find peace in every exhalation. And it looks like this. If you practice this and you feel that you're getting too agitated, then it's not for you. Then you can switch to tidal breathing, or you can just practice this breathing method more, because like everything, you have to do this a couple of times to get used to it. All right? Now, after a couple of minutes, after a couple of minutes, breathe up, you're going to take your final breath. How does this look like? First in the belly, then in the chest, about 5 seconds. So your final breath is not going to be something like, that's too fast. You take your time, 5 seconds, first in the belly, then in the chest, and it looks like this. And then you hold your breath. And then starts the relaxation phase. So after a while, when you hold your breath, you're going to start feeling the urge to breathe, which we freedivers call contractions. But before that happens, that is the relaxation phase. It is the most enjoyable part of freediving. And the longer you can make this relaxation phase, the better, of course, because honestly, who wants contractions, right? So how are we going to make sure that this relaxation phase is as relaxed as possible and hopefully also as long as possible? Well, there are a couple of techniques. So one of those techniques is called visualization. When you are laying down on your back, hand palms facing up, you're just holding your breath, you want to have something to keep your mind busy, because you don't want to have negative thoughts coming into your head. You do not want to start doubting yourself, because doubt and fear and anxiety consume a lot of energy, consume a lot of oxygen, and then, well, that is bad for your breath hold, right? So the more relaxed you are, the longer you can hold your breath. So visualization. You see here, I got a picture of children. I have to think out now. There's all the charts. And I had a friend in my street, and we used to dress up as soldiers, because my dad is dad. They had army clothes and were serving. And we walked through the village, and we thought we were really in the army. And then when I visualized this, well, first of all, it's a happy moment because I had a wonderful childhood. So when I remember that, I instantly become happy. You can see a smile on my face already because I just had a wonderful time. And then I try to go through the streets. I remember going through the streets, and I look at the houses, and I try to remember who was living there. Were there friends of mine living there? Did they have a dog? So I am, in my mind, going through all the streets of the village where I grew up with my friends. And only that can take me a long time, so before you know it, a couple of minutes have already passed by. It doesn't have to be something from your childhood. It can be like less emotional. For instance, you can just simply imagine eating a cake. Like yesterday, you ate a cake and it was so tasty. So now you can go over the taste again. You imagine you're eating this cake and you feel the taste in your mouth and you remember exactly how you felt yesterday. That can also be visualization. All right. So apart from visualization, we can also do the body scan. So during this relaxation phase, visualize, or maybe you started visualizing something, but then your brain at a certain moment said, hey, I mean, it was fun, it was cool, but now I just want to think about something else. Then don't fight that, never fight your mind. So if your brain wants to think about something else or wants to do something else, that's perfectly okay. So you might consider switching to the body scan. So the body scan, you lay down on the floor and you go over every body part in your in your body. So you start with your right hand and you wiggle, you move your fingers a little bit to make sure that all the tension is out. Then you go over your hand palm. You just think about your hand palm. You visualize your hand palm. You visualize the energy, the stress that is possibly there going out. Then your pulse. You move it a little bit. Imagine the stress, the tension going out of there. Then you go over your elbow, your shoulder, then your left shoulder, again the left elbow, your hands, your fingers. Then you go towards your toes. So you all imagine that, right? You are not moving unless the body parts you are imagining at that moment. So you think about your toes, you move your toes a little bit just to make sure the stress is out of that. Feet, knees, hips, then you go to your other leg. And when you're done with arms and legs, you can even go over the neck. You try to visualize the tension going out of your neck and then your jaw, because mostly when we hold our breath, we do something like we clench our jaw. There is some tension in the jaw. Also the tongue. Few people, beginners, can let their tongue just rest in the mouth. Usually there is some tension in the tongue. So visualize the tension going out of your jaw. You might do something like this and visualize the tension going out of your tongue. Just move your tongue a little bit. Then go over your nose, even your eyes. There might be tension in your eyes. So just try to get that out. That is the body scan. Go over your whole body. If you take the time to do this, to go over every single body part, I can assure you a lot of time will have passed already without you noticing. And then another one is the heartbeat. This is something you can try as well. Just focus on your heartbeat. So boom, boom, boom. Some people, they like to count 1, 2, 3, 4. I've never done that. Focus on your heartbeats, feel the heartbeats, and try to get all other thoughts out of your head. Just focus on boom, boom, boom. See if that works. Whatever method works for you, it is fine. I'm just giving you a couple of options. All right. Then another one is a song or playing a mantra. So you can just sing a song. If the song becomes too difficult, then you're using too much oxygen to make your brain work. So what probably works better is a mantra. So you're just repeating a sentence over and over and over again. It can be something like, I am strong, I am strong, I am strong. Or what I like to do, I started singing the song, I took a pill in Ibiza from Mike Posner. I took a pill in Ibiza to show a VG I was cool. But then I figured out that it was too much lyrics and I had to think too much about it. So I was consuming more energy than necessary. So now I just sing this one little phrase from the chorus. All I know were sad songs, over and over and over and over again. And if I get bored, if my brain says, hey man, that's enough now, I want to do something else, then you can switch to other techniques we've just discussed. All right, so that is visualization. If this relaxation phase stops, and it will stop at some point because you will feel the urge to breathe coming on more and more, then that's the moment you're going to start feeling contractions. So contractions are spasms, contractions of the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is the big muscle between your thoracic area, the chest, and your abdomen. The diaphragm is the muscle that we use to breathe. So when we inhale, the diaphragm lowers, so it makes space for the lungs to expand. And when we exhale, we decrease the volume of the lungs by hiring the diaphragm. So the diaphragm moves up and down to make us breathe in and out. So when this diaphragm starts contracting, that is called contraction. So contractions are small spasms of this diaphragm. It is important to know that this is actually something beneficial for your breath hold. Yeah, who would have thought that, right? So most beginners, they always have problems with this phase of the breath hold. When the urge to breathe starts coming up, the contractions, like, oh, Gert, how can I deal with contractions? What should I do to deal with contractions? Should I do CO2 tolerance training to deal better with contractions? No. The only thing you can do is accept, surrender. Freediving is about accepting what happens. Freediving is about surrendering to the ocean. Now, we're not in the water here. We're doing this dry. We're laying down on the yoga mats. So what are you going to surrender to? It is your breath hold. You have to surrender to the contractions. If you fight them, it's over. People try to fight their contraction. Don't do it. You have to accept the contractions. And in the beginning, they will be very mild. The more you loosen up, the easier it is. If you are tense, if you're tensioning up, then these contractions will feel heavier. They will feel harder. They will be more difficult to deal with. But if you loosen up all muscles, if you feel this first contraction coming up, relax even more. Make sure all the muscles are relaxed, and then the contractions will be easier to deal with. It's important to know that these contractions will not stop. Once they start, they will keep on coming, and they will keep on coming faster and also harder. Don't stress about it. Accept it. At a certain point, you will feel, or you will decide that this is enough, Okay, this is enough. Now I need to breathe. So what's going to happen then? You abort the breath holds. You're going to take, first you're going to exhale the air you have, which is full of CO2. And then you're going to take a big breath. You're going to do that a couple of times, and we call this the recovery breath. So the recovery breath looks something like this. 5 times. Always do this after a breath hold. Even if the breath hold was small, you're still going to do the recovery breath because you need to make this something automatic. So if you're doing a more challenged breath holds, then sometimes your mind is so occupied with this breath hold itself that you might forget doing the recovery breath. So that's why we always practice recovery breath after a breath hold. All right. So the reason of this recovery breath is to get in as much oxygen as possible in a short amount of time right after the breath hold, because you are low on oxygen because you've been holding your breath for a long time.